A dusty VHS resurfaces online showing a dynamic martial artist effortlessly dominating a silent, towering master. 8 million viewers hit rewind, desperate to learn what happened when Sensei Hiroshi Suzuki challenged Bruce Lee. What they saw left them speechless. The clip lasts 37 seconds, grainy, badly lit with the unmistakable industrial hum of a film studio in the background. But what it captures is nothing short of seismic. It's October 1972, and the sprawling Cinecittà Studios in Rome echo with the controlled chaos of a major international production. The Way of the Dragon, Bruce Lee's ambitious, self-directed film that will cement his superstar status, is in full swing. The morning chill already gives way to the heat of the set lights when Sensei Hiroshi Suzuki strolls onto stage 3. Fresh from a successful run in Japanese Judo films and radiating the stern confidence of a man who's just spent years perfecting classical judo and karate. "That's not real fighting," Suzuki announces loudly, watching a choreographed sequence between a local Italian stuntman and his dynamic co-star Bruce Lee. His voice carries across the sound stage, cutting through the buzz of crew activity. Real judo would end this in seconds. Lee doesn't react immediately. At 32, the creator of Jeet Kune Do Jaekadi has learned to measure his words as carefully as his legendary speed. He's been in this business long enough, a veteran of Hong Kong cinema, to recognize when someone is fishing for a reaction. The compact, fiery Chinese-American actor simply continues his methodical warm-up routine. Quick, explosive stretching movements that seem almost electric against the backdrop of cables, cameras, and controlled chaos. "Suzuki-san, my friend," director Lo Wei interjects with his familiar Cantonese accent, sensing the ego thickening in the air. "Perhaps we save the real fighting for after lunch." Lo Wei grins, but there's genuine concern behind his eyes. He's worked with both men before and knows their reputations extend far beyond the silver screen. But Suzuki, towering and rooted at 5 feet 11 inches, isn't backing down. His credentials are legitimate and well documented. Former All-Japan Collegiate Judo champion, and a man who spent his career focused on the devastating efficiency of traditional full-contact methods. "I'm not talking about movie fighting," he clarifies, his voice carrying that peculiar mix of traditional politeness and martial arts gravitas. "I'm talking about what happens when tradition meets street application." Assistant cameraman Marco Rossi keeps his Aeroflex rolling. They're supposed to be capturing behind-the-scenes footage for the publicity kit anyway. And this is about to become the most compelling B-roll in cinema history. Like Contact Only, Lee finally speaks. His English is rapid and intense, like finding the path of no limit. "Yes," Suzuki agrees. What begins as a respectful demonstration quickly transforms into something far more serious. The two men circle each other on the polished studio floor, their movements creating an electric tension that has the entire crew unconsciously holding their breath. Suzuki strikes first, not physically but verbally. "Flowing styles are beautiful for philosophy," he says, his tone patronizing as he adjusts his posture. But the constant movement and open guards, pure camera magic. Real combat requires grounding, structure, and respect for fixed principles. He gestures dismissively at Lee's mobile, low stance. Rigidity matters when power is the answer. Lee's response is barely audible, but it carries across the sound stage like a whisper in a cathedral. "We shall see." The first exchange happens so quickly that several crew members miss it entirely. Suzuki, confident in his reputation, attempts a quick, deep low tackle, a classic judo entry designed to secure a body grip and initiate a throw. His massive hands shoot toward Lee's legs, seeking the leverage point that should send his opponent tumbling. Instead, Lee absorbs the attack like a ripple taking a stone. His footwork, honed through years of practice, performs a lightning-fast lateral shift that avoids the tackle entirely. The committed entry that should have been decisive becomes nothing more than a momentary lapse in position. Before Suzuki can adjust, Lee drives his lead foot forward in what appears to be a gentle tap to the knee. The impact, perfectly timed and utilizing Lee's famous 1-inch power, sends Suzuki staggering backward 3 full steps as his massive structure momentarily breaks. Lo Wei's eyebrows shoot up. This isn't the choreographed dance they all expected. Marco Rossi, the assistant cameraman, instinctively zooms in, his professional instincts overriding any concerns about workplace liability. "Impressive," Suzuki admits, but a creeping frustration is entering his voice. The respectful demonstration is morphing into something else entirely. A test of reputation, a philosophy of pride. Let's try something with more commitment. The second exchange reveals the fundamental difference between their approaches. Suzuki flows into a back fist followed by a powerful side kick, intending to use his superior reach and rooted power to control the distance. It's textbook classical karate, strong, direct, and devastating when executed properly. But as he throws the kick, Lee sees the opening instantly. He drops low and executes a Jeet Kune Do block/counter, simultaneously parrying the kick with his forearm and driving a short, sharp cross-punch directly into Suzuki's floating ribs. The sound, a sharp thwack that echoes off the studio walls, makes several grips wince in sympathy. "Ouch," mutters stunt coordinator Sammo Hung, a man who's orchestrated thousands of fake fights. "Should we keep rolling?" Lo Wei whispers, his director's instincts recognizing something historic unfolding. This isn't about movies anymore. This is about truth captured in real time on 35mm film. The atmosphere on set has completely transformed. What started as casual curiosity has become something approaching reverence. Even the caterers have stopped their setup to watch. Everyone understands they're witnessing something that will be talked about for decades, if anyone is allowed to talk about it at all. Suzuki's breathing has changed. The easy confidence from his entrance is gone, replaced by the sharp focus of a man who realizes his reputation is on the line. Sweat beads on his forehead despite the studio's air conditioning. Lee, meanwhile, remains almost eerily calm, his movements retaining that electric, JKD fluidity even as the intensity escalates. "Ready for the next demonstration?" Lee asks quietly, his tone devoid of mockery, but somehow more devastating because of it. The question hangs in the air like a challenge issued by fate itself. The final exchange begins with Suzuki's desperation. Gone is the measured confidence of his entrance. What remains is a man whose carefully cultivated mystique is crumbling in real time before a room full of witnesses. He launches into a combination that would look devastating in a full-contact ring. A powerful forearm smash followed by a wide judo shoulder throw, suri nage. Lee moves like water around stone. The smash whistles through empty air as Lee sidesteps with an economy of motion that seems to defy logic. The shoulder throw follows, and for a moment it looks like Suzuki might connect, until Lee's hand snaps out, catching the actor's sleeve and armpit with the casual efficiency of someone closing a window. What happens next occurs in slow motion for everyone watching, yet unfolds with the brutal speed of real combat. Lee's counterattack is a masterclass in applied physics. His wrist/finger lock, delivered with the precision of someone who spent decades perfecting joint manipulation, drives into Suzuki's elbow joint with surgical accuracy. The sharp crack makes several crew members instinctively step backward. Suzuki's arm snaps to the side, his traditional posture momentarily broken. But Lee isn't finished. Before the taller man can recover, before he can even process what's happening, Lee drops his weight and unleashes what practitioners call the explosive entry technique. His hip and shoulder, backed by his phenomenal speed and center of gravity, slam into Suzuki's midsection simultaneously. The impact is devastating, not just because of the force, but because of the perfect timing. Suzuki is caught mid-recovery, his weight distributed poorly, his guard completely down. The effect is immediate and catastrophic. Suzuki's feet leave the ground. For a surreal moment, the master grappler is airborne, his GI jacket billowing around him like the wings of a broken bird. He crashes backward with an involuntary grunt of pain and surprise. The silence that follows is deafening. His nose is bleeding slightly, a thin line of red trickling down his chin. One of his hands grips his shoulder, and when he tries to sit up, a barely audible groan escapes his lips. "Stop," he manages to whisper. The word carried by the sensitive boom mics positioned around the set. It's not loud, but in the absolute silence of the sound stage, it might as well be a shout. "I stop." It's the only tap-out he'll ever concede on film. Lee stands over the wreckage, his compact chest barely rising and falling any faster than before. His breathing remains controlled, meditative. He looks down at Suzuki with something that might be professional interest, but certainly isn't triumph. "You fought with purpose, Sensei," Lee says quietly, extending a hand to help the fallen actor to his feet. It's a gesture of respect that somehow makes the defeat even more complete. Around them, the crew remains frozen in various states of shock and awe. Marco Rossi's camera continues rolling, capturing every moment of this unprecedented reversal of fortune. Lo Wei's mouth hangs open, his usual quips completely absent. The entire encounter has lasted less than 90 seconds, but those 90 seconds have shattered every assumption about Hollywood tough guys and real-world consequences. The man who built his career on being the immovable object has just met an unstoppable force and lost decisively. As Suzuki struggles to his feet, pride battling against the sting of pain etched across his face, everyone in the room knows they've just witnessed a moment destined to remain absent from any polished behind-the-scenes documentary. It's the kind of raw, unfiltered reality that cinema often spends millions trying to fabricate. Within minutes, the studio medic arrives, summoned by a frantic production assistant who had seen the entire incident unfold. Dr. Elena Mancini, a seasoned professional from countless film sets, has treated everything from minor scratches to life-threatening stunt injuries. Yet, the sight of Hiroshi Suzuki casually dabbing blood from his nose was a scene unlike anything she'd encountered before. "I'm fine," Suzuki insists through gritted teeth, waving away her approach. But his left hand remains pressed against his upper arm. And when he tries to stand without assistance, a barely concealed wince betrays the extent of his discomfort. Just need a moment. The real drama, however, unfolds not around the injured actor, but around the cameras that captured every devastating second. "Kill the footage," Suzuki demands, his voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to getting his way. "All of it. Now." His eyes scan the crew with the intensity of a man whose carefully constructed image has just been obliterated in front of dozens of witnesses. This was a private demonstration, nothing more. Director Lo Wei nods grimly, understanding the implications. A behind-the-scenes clip of Hiroshi Suzuki, the man who's built his reputation on the superiority of traditional, rooted fighting, getting decisively defeated by his co-star could destroy more than just one man's reputation. It could damage the entire action genre's credibility. But Marco Rossi, the assistant cameraman, has already made his choice. While the official cameras are powered down and their footage marked for destruction, the duplicate 16mm reel he recorded slips quietly into his equipment bag. Later, in the privacy of his cramped Rome flat, he'll label it innocuously, "Dragon Rehearsal Alt. Take 2. Within hours, non-disclosure agreements circulate among the crew like wildfire. The language is explicit, and the financial penalties severe. Everyone who witnessed the encounter signs, from the director down to the craft services assistant who happened to be refilling the coffee station when Suzuki went flying. But whispers have a way of escaping even the tightest legal constraints. 6 months later, Black Belt magazine runs a cryptic blind item about an Eastern action star who taught an overseas traditionalist the meaning of total freedom during a recent European film production. The details are vague enough to avoid lawsuits, but specific enough that industry insiders begin connecting the dots. Years pass, and the story fades into obscurity, becoming little more than a footnote in Hollywood lore. Then in 2019, Marco Rossi passes away, remembered as a modest man who takes his greatest secret to the grave. His nephew, clearing out his cluttered Trastevere flat, discovers boxes of unmarked film reels among decades of accumulated film memorabilia. Most contain mundane behind-the-scenes footage, but one cassette labeled Dragon Rehearsal Alt. Take 2-inch catches the attention of a cinema archivist he's hired to appraise the collection. The digitized footage hits a niche martial arts forum in March 2020. Uploaded with the innocuous title, "Old Film Set Footage, Real or Choreographed?" Within hours, the thread explodes. Frame-by-frame analysis begins immediately. Fight historians recognize Cinecittà's distinctive Stage 3 layout. The film grain matches early 1970s 16mm technology perfectly. When the clip migrates to YouTube, it goes viral overnight. #LeeSuzukiClash trends globally before legal takedown notices kill the original upload. But the internet never forgets, and the footage has already been downloaded thousands of times. Soon, creative editors begin having fun with the historical footage. The grainy studio background gets digitally replaced with everything from a UFC octagon to a historical Kwon in Foshan. One popular edit places the confrontation in a classical Japanese dojo, complete with bowing students. Another superimposes modern MMA graphics, adding commentary from Joe Rogan and B.S. Rutten over the original audio. MMA podcasters dissect every frame, praising Lee's textbook footwork and devastating counter timing. Professional fighters weigh in on social media, with several noting how Lee's explosive entry demonstrated perfect weight transfer and hip rotation. What happened when Sensei Hiroshi Suzuki challenged Bruce Lee didn't go Suzuki's way. The truth, as it often does, proved more compelling than any script Hollywood could have written. What do you think happens when action stars face real-world challenges outside their controlled movie environments? If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden piece of cinema history, make sure to subscribe for more shocking revelations from behind the scenes.